Hello and welcome to this film which will provide you with important information on your new Arc Flash protective clothing. The issuing of your new workwear is the culmination of over 2 years of development work by a whole host of colleagues both inside and outside of Northern Power Grid. It also represents a significant investment in your safety.
The Arc gear that Steve and Sean are after, Steve Weatherall's going to raise that order.
By now you will either have received or be about to receive a hold-all full of your new clothing. Please listen carefully to the following information. It will provide you with some background so that you can fully appreciate the hazard and why you need protection, when to wear your PPE in work, testing and operational situations, which combinations of clothing will provide the required protection, and how to look after it, get it cleaned, repaired or replaced.
The bottom line was, we understood how our networks performed in terms of amps and volts, but we had absolutely no idea how they performed in terms of arc flash incident energy levels. There was no other DNO that had done any of this type of risk assessment, so we had nothing to compare across the industry. And it became evident that our current PPE was simply not adequate in the unlikely event it would become exposed to an arc flash.
I've pulled together the supply of a variety of different garments that have been carefully selected by Northern Power Grid to give, in the first place, the right level of protection from electrical arc flash and other thermal effects, and also to improve the public image of the employees of Northern Power Grid.
An electric arc is the discharge of electrical energy through a gas, usually air.
There are a number of things that determine arc flash energy levels. The current flow in the arc itself, which is determined by network fault levels. The time duration that the arc is sustained, that's dependent on protection type and protection settings. The spacing between conductors has a part to play as well. For example, overhead lines has quite large spacing between conductors, where underground cables has very minimal spacing.
An arc in air radiates out in all directions if it's an overhead line, for instance. But if it's actually confined in a cutout or a distribution board, it's radiated out towards the worker themselves.
The enclosure that the equipment happens to be in has an effect, and that's something called the box effect. And there's one very important aspect amongst that lot, and that's the distance the operator is from the arc itself. It's loosely based on an inverse square law, and what that means is if you double the distance, you quarter the effect. We've covered HV switching, both on old and modern types of switchgear, low voltage distribution board operations, link box work on cutouts right from industrial service units down to the PL cutout, and live work on both overhead and underground mains. And in all cases we've covered operations, work and testing.
And from all that data we were able to work out the fault levels at each particular piece of equipment, and then hence the incident energy levels.
The DuPont approach is a 4P approach.
So predict, that's about how big the bang's going to be. Prevent is how we stop it from causing harm to people. Protect is where we deal with residual risk. And publish is where we actually publish the results of the arc flash assessment.
Having a professional image is key to our customers and stakeholders, and my role in the project has been around the design to ensure that they fit within the new corporate brand. It was really important that we got the designs spot on and that they were fit for purpose, so we engaged with employees right from the onset of the project.
We went to some garment manufacturers as well and designed suitable workwear from scratch effectively, which involved a small selection of staff across a variety of disciplines participating in some field trials.
And based on their feedback, the designs have been tweaked accordingly.
Does it keep you cool in summer and warm in winter?
Yeah.
Very good, mate. Excellent. Northern Power Grid, relatively unique in what they've selected to do in terms of sizing every wearer with the actual garments that they will receive in due course, so that when the kit's delivered, there's no doubt that it will fit properly, because fit is actually part of the safety process, both from protection and also avoiding the introduction of other hazards.
After the risk assessment, we were able to identify what the actual calorific values required that would protect against the thermal effects of an arc. And we put forward technical fabrics and solutions that would meet not only safety and corporate requirements, but also to protect against the thermal effects of the arc and flash fire.
The fabrics for each and every garment have been carefully chosen from a wide range available in the marketplace, and they are both class and industry leading in terms of protection, longevity, comfort, moisture management.
We, in conjunction with one of our partner weavers, Estem Brill, developed a patented solution with Nomex on the outside and Kevlar on the inside to make a very high thermal barrier for flash fire, and also because of the reactions of Nomex thickening in a flash fire and Kevlar providing high tensile strengths, when there's a flash fire and an arc, it creates air pockets in the fabric and therefore provides a very lightweight flash fire and arc flash solution.
There is a magic number, 1.2 calories per centimetre squared,
which equates to 1 second of flame against an index finger.
That represents a 50% chance of the onset of second-degree burns. If you have an 8 cal suit, you could have 8 cals on the outside of the garment, but the fabric itself would attenuate the heat down to that magic number of 1.2 cals.
So Northern Power Grid's garments have been mannequin tested on Thermoman for 4 seconds to simulate an industrial fire with temperatures up to 1,000 degrees Celsius. The Northern Power Grid garments have also been tested on our DuPont Arcman test rig in Geneva to simulate an arc flash and provide protection against the thermal effects of an electric arc.
The arc flash protection afforded by the new PPE system is based on the layering system. When you are out on the network working live, you'll be required to wear either a 0, 1 or 2 layer option. 1 layer, such as this, will afford over 9 calories of protection, while if you double that, it's an exponential rule which will afford over 30 calories of protection. Any activity on cutouts such as these 100 amp units here is a single layer option. I'm currently using the coverall together with a full face visor with chin guard, and in this particular case HV gloves, although LV gloves are perfectly suitable. However, if this had been an industrial service unit, a 200 amp unit or above, then a double layer option is required. Any activity on LV distribution boards requires a 2-layer protection system. In this case I'm using the polo shirt, cargo pant and coverall. If you noticed, I was at arm's length when I operated that fuse. That's very important. At 300mm from those bus bars, the arc flash incident energy level is something like 75 cals, whereas at 600, i.e. double the distance, it drops to less than 20. Again, for operation of that LV isolator, it's a 2-layer system. In this case I'm using the waterproof jacket as the second outer layer, and if you noticed how I held the operating rod at the end rather than halfway up, just to give myself that extra bit of distance. Link boxes provide a bit of a challenge in terms of arc flash incident energy levels. That's because they often have multiple infeeds from different substations, and they also suffer from the box effect. In other words, the energy's only got one direction in which to go. So please don't dangle your feet inside the pit. If your feet are on the edge of the bell housing, you're potentially exposing them to something like 100 cals of energy. Increase that distance to 500mm and that reduces to less than 25. So when operating on link boxes, please use long screwdrivers where you can and long linking tools.
You will be issued with guidance in the form of an arc flash PPE matrix. This will show you exactly which combinations of clothing you require to carry out each task. For operations of HV or EHV equipment, a single layer of protection is needed. This can be provided either by coveralls or your wet weather clothing. Some operations and testing on HV and EHV networks require a 2-layer combination to provide the necessary level of protection. For work, testing or operations on LV mains, including link boxes, feeder pillars, cables and service terminations above 100 amps, a 2-layer combination is needed. Wherever a 2-layer solution is required, this can be provided by your arc flash shirt and pants, worn with your coverall, or coverall and your wet weather clothing. It's your choice.
Every product has to be ordered through a dedicated online portal They can build an order and they can allocate it to an individual, so there will be a full audit trail of who had what and when, which is important from a commercial point of view but also important from a safety point of view.
The ARC Workwear is a major investment by the company. To support this, we've awarded a contract to Johnson Apparel. This will provide a service to ensure the full lifespan and full arc protection of the clothing. There'll be a 7-day turnaround, there'll be professional clean, a full repair service and a quality assurance element. The top layer clothing will be barcoded. This will allow for identification and tracking. We will use a locker arrangement where dirty clothing will be dropped off in a provided container and the clean clothing will be delivered direct to individual lockers.
The work that I've been doing with Northern Power Grid is fairly unique in my view, and I base that on conversations and presentations that I've done to people who set the standards in arc flash within Europe.
Your clothing is not a suit of armour. PPE is always the last resort in terms of protection from harm. Our safe systems of work, our procedures, safety rules, OPM, training and competence should keep everyone safe, but we will always ensure that if something does go wrong, you are protected to the very highest levels. The information in this film is extremely important. Watch it as many times as you need to so that you fully understand it. If you have any doubts, please ask your supervisor or speak to a member of the safety team.